this is the door of the Bank of England, where we are expecting the governor to come out in the next few minutes and issue that press conference and just talk through the thinking behind that decision making. Before that, though, let's cross over to our business reporter, David Waddell, who joins us. And David, as we await that press conference from the governor of the Bank of England, just remind us again that thinking of why this cut, why now?
Well, in the most recent CPI, consumer price inflation data, we saw that prices in the 12 months to September had risen by 1.7%. That is a long way short of the peak that we saw, prices rising by 11% in 2022. They've been falling since then, not prices falling, but inflation falling. And the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee have concluded it is time, for the second time this year, to reduce the interest rate because it feels that inflation is now coming under control.
They feel inflation is coming under control, but as we were seeing what happens in the States, those tariffs that the President-elect Trump has been talking about, that will also start feeding into that decision-making process and what they will be doing going forward.
Yes, well, there are a number of factors here. Now, we don't know what policy prescriptions Donald Trump will bring in, whatever he's threatened, whatever he proposes to do. We will have to see what actually comes in 2025 because he'll be wanting to strike deals with other countries. Of course, there is that threat of import tariffs of 20%, maybe even 60% from China. That it's unclear what that will do to the US economy. It's likely to dampen global international trade.
So, David, we're just interrupting you because we have now seen the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, is getting ready and that press conference is now underway. Let's get a little bit more, unpack some of this with David Waddell, our business reporter who's been watching all of this. So what's the kind of messaging that we are to take away from here? Because arguably we're hearing that inflation is expected to creep up and that will, of course, have an impact on interest rates.
Well, it is mixed because the latest inflation figure for the UK consumer price index figure that prices rose by 1.7% in the 12 months to September. Now that's low. It's especially low compared to where inflation's been over the last couple of years, and it's beneath the Bank of England target. But we've been hearing from the governor his expectation, the Bank of England's expectation, that inflation will now start to rise again and perhaps be a further percentage point higher in a year's time than it is today. May not fall under the Bank of England's target for another couple of years until perhaps 2026 or 2027. So he's continuing to talk about restrictive monetary policy, that is interest rates that are designed to continue bringing inflation under control. So even though in this latest decision they have reduced interest rates, the expectation is that the rates are still at such a level that they will continue to manage prices. And
arguably some of that kind of stubborn area where we're talking about inflation overall, but that stubborn area of when it comes to wage growth and when it comes to services as well. The governor, they're talking about that being higher than what we're seeing in terms of inflation overall. David, just unpack that in a more elegant way.
Well, I'll do my best. So wage growth is still higher than consumer price inflation. That puts a pressure on prices overall. There are a number of specific factors here. One is energy prices, which are expected to rise a little bit more quickly in the near term with the energy price cap going up shortly. Also I'll just check my data here, at the beginning of 2026, he's expecting that the freeze on fuel duty may end. So fuel prices may rise a bit more quickly at that point.
Much more elegantly done than the way I described it, but thank you very much, our business reporter David Waddell there, just unpicking some of that press conference from the Bank of England. But the headliner news is that interest rates have been cut to 4.75%. We've got a live page, much more on our website.